nobody? Who are you? Are you nobody too? You know, hope's a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today here at Midday in Manhattan. We are here with two charming and beautiful young ladies, Dr. Denise Nichloes, a psychoanalyst, world famous. She has written numerous books on the subject, and Ms. Kathren Jones, who is portraying her in the exciting Road from Nowhere, the smash Broadway hit that is taking Manhattan by storm. Thank you very, very much for joining us today from your busy schedules. So let's start with you, Doctor. First of all, have you had the opportunity to see the play?
I have, yes. I was at the screening. Okay.
All right. And
okay. Yes, I was there on opening night. I did see it.
And what were your opinions on the presentation? We do know that you were actually there for the events as they were written, and we do know that Bonnie and Ellen, the two good-natured alcoholic songwriters who penned this marvelous work, did of course take some liberties. Could we have your opinion on the relation between the play and the truth of the actual matter?
They did, as you say, take liberties. Maybe some of the occurrences represented in the film did occur. I feel that they were slightly editorialized, maybe in the name of artistic license, and obviously the audiences are enjoying it, and had the audiences seen the untempered with reality, they might not beat a path to the door of the theater because it's not as sensational. The reality is a lot more dull than the play, and that's theater, I suppose.
Now, Kathleen, tell me, I actually have seen the performance and presentation, and I do think that your acting skills are stellar as far as it goes. Could you tell me, were there any difficulties that you encountered while trying to portray Dr. Nichloes? What research did you do?
Well, I had seen Dr. Nichloes on tape many times. You taped some of your clients with you on tape, so they gave me that. So I followed, you know, her body postures, etc., etc. I think what I did as an actress was just heighten her stature a little bit more.
Well, certainly it would be difficult to heighten her stature because she is indeed a world-renowned psychoanalyst, and she has written 4 or 5 books. And your most recent one, which I know hasn't been published. Why don't you tell us about the most recent one? I'm sure our audience will be very, very interested, and we'll give you the opportunity to plug it.
It's about the post-traumatic stress disorder in the servicemen in Iraq.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, speaking of Iraq, I understand that Lanya is going to be doing a USO tour over there. Now, unfortunately, we know that they wouldn't allow her in the country, although she was willing to wear a veil. But I think she took off all 7 of them before she was finished. And I believe she's performing actually on one of the carriers that are outside of the waters over there. Have you had the opportunity to speak to her recently?
No.
Okay. And did you have the opportunity? You, of course, had the opportunity to see Sasha Ishride, who is playing Lanya in the
Yes,
play.
marvelous,
How do you-
marvelous, marvelous.
Really? Now, you had a unique bond with Lanya, as we've discussed in previous interviews. Kathleen, was it hard for you to establish that chemical relation that was necessary to truly portray the relationship between the psychoanalyst and the patient and the multi-level personalities of Lanya?
No, not really for me. I myself have had a lot of psychotherapy, so it wasn't really that difficult for me. I find that one of my psychotherapies was singing, and that certainly helped. So, as you see, and they took some of the script in the play and put in a few songs for me, which of course Dr. Nichloes didn't normally have. I assume I had not seen any tape of her singing.
Well, of course,
She never will.
and of course, she is indeed a psychoanalyst.
Yes.
But one
Not
of
a
the
singing
bases,
one.
one of the bases
Yes.
of the play is the effect that Bonnie and Ellen's music had on the
Yes.
different characters.
In my case, the listener.
Yes. Now, we've had a number of
Yes.
strange. I won't say strange because the characters in the boarding house are really rather delightful. I've had the honor of meeting all of them, and it seems that the music of Bonnie and Ellen did create an atmosphere of love. We have Harry the mailman, who is now happily living with Cachando. We have Rob and Renee, who is living with Paul, and Glenn, the young child. I know for a while you were kind enough to take in Lanya because she was having difficulty in another apartment that she was living in. I guess fame is a very, very hard thing to handle in the end. So there were relationships that grew out of this encounter with Bonnie and Ellen. Do you think that they would have happened without Bonnie and Ellen be there, or?
Not in the same way. As a movie has a background score, or any music creates an environment that sort of dictates how the relationships evolve. An example would be if a painter were painting to jazz as opposed to classical. I think music informs you emotionally and artistically, and this is what Bonnie and Ellen's music did. And it was a very real and honest connection that was made, as opposed to a sort of false, flamboyant, overdone, unnatural reaction, which I find can be a problem in promoting the truth of a scene or that.
Now, Kathleen, I see that as this conversation is going on, you are in many ways mimicking the movements and
Yes.
the action. Now, of course,
Of course, it's my first actual meeting with her. And now, of course, I can take this back to the theater.
May I sing? I wasn't looking. I'd love to see.
Well, you know, you do have your legs crossed in a certain way, and I notice you do touch your face a little more than I do, which of course is lowering your status a bit. And of course, when one touches one's face, it lowers their status.
And
just a
by
bit.
what school of acting is that
Well,
Is that
it's,
true? Is that
it's
Meisner or
No,
Stanislavski
yes,
or
and
Adler?
yeah, and it's George
Because in
Morrison.
Adler, you might be able to touch your face, while
You
in
can touch your face,
Stanislavski,
but
you-
when one touches one's face, it lowers one's status, and I do notice.
And by
you
what
have done that a
study
long
is
time.
the by-
Also, your hair does fall a little more to your face. Of course, I've seen that on the tapes. In fact, I've seen your hair wilder. It's a nice hairdo, certainly.
Well, I think you're focusing
But
on
notice-
the superficial.
Yes, well, I think that's also important. I think also that you're so.
So that's
morally
Meisner-esque. You're going from the
unconventional.
outside.
Yes, I'm going. Well, I'm also doing the inside out.
So you've studied
Oh, yes,
psychology
I've studied-
at length.
I've
and
studied
Have you read my
psychology.
books? Of course, I would imagine you've
Well, I read one of your books. Yes.
Oh, I see. Which
and
one?
I think the first one.
Okay.
It was very enlightening, and I think if you
So
read
young.
one, you know what is going to come next. I didn't have quite that much time, and then I did see you on tape in person. I mean, in person on tape.
Excuse me for a second, I just want to make an
Yes.
interjection here for our audience members who do not know of the book. If I am correct, your first book was a reflection on Freud, and it was called Biology, the Brain, and Bullshit.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes, that's
Our
it.
research department does have its ways and means. As a matter of fact, I was fortunate enough to get a first
I think it was a
edition of
big
it.
enough hit that you didn't have to do too much research.
Well, I am a video being on TV. I do not get to do as much reading as I would like. And
More's the pity for you and society.
as well. And now, as I have said, many of the characters, right, that were actually there for the events that have been written out in the play. For example, the Toughs, the street gang. They have gone on in many ways to take postal exams. They are following in the footsteps of Harry. As a matter of fact, I also believe that they have actually started a school for dominatrixes also, but they are very, very ingenious businessmen. But do you feel that this play, The Exciting Road from Nowhere, is something that is good for society as a whole?
Oh, I do. I think it's very uplifting and motivating, and it shows how a silk purse can be made out of a sow's ear. It shows how joy can come from sorrow. It has a positive.
Yes. I'm glad I see a side of you that I did not see in the tapes, and that's a sense of humor. Silk purse, sow's ear. That's really nice.
Well, there
I
is
can
some in
use
my
that in
writing.
my-
It's-
yes.
I'm trying to be objective.
Yes,
and-
I didn't quite get the sense of humor in the first book. Maybe I should read the second.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the second book, which was, of course, the follow-up, which was Bullshit and Brainwashing, was even outsold the first one by 300 or 400%.
I'm just curious, when you took therapy, would you please stop mimicking my movements? It's really making me uncomfortable.
Oh, I'm
and
so sorry.
may I
don't
say,
mean to make you uncomfortable.
you have many idiosyncrasies yourself that I could easily mimic, and you would know how I feel.
Well,
Now,
you don't know what idiosyncrasies I have because I am so trying to get right in your core.
but it's done. I mean, you perform the show all week, and plus matinees,
Yes.
and I would
It's
imagine
hard
that
work.
I would imagine that you have your chance to get my character done, but I'm curious as to who you are. I really am. There is just
Yes.
not a shred of evidence of your own personality. I think you're having one of those syndromes where you're just taking over the personality of the character you're acting, which tends to happen. We know of it. And I was curious on that level as to what you went to therapy for in the past, and why, and if it helped. I'd like a little insight into you. You certainly have scoured my innards.
If you could be kind enough to hold that thought for a moment, we have to take a commercial break. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us here in Midday at Montauk. We are now going to have a word from our sponsor, Once Upon a Planet, the professional party people. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for tuning in once again. This is Midday in Manhattan. We are here today with Dr. Denise Nichloes and, of course, Ms. Kathren Jones, the actress who is playing them. And for those of you who are just joining us, it is the portrayal of that marvelous play that is sweeping Manhattan, The Exciting Road from Nowhere. Now, ladies, you were discussing the effects of various syndromes and...
Well, I was saying she seems to be suffering from the syndrome of being completely obsessed with the character she's playing. I would very much like, I know that I don't do this, for instance.
Do what?
And this.
I've seen this. Listen, it's...
And this is something that you do, and I'm asked, and this is not, for instance, one of my effects. It is one of yours. When you do that, what are you saying? When you look at me and go,
you know your hair is covering your expression,
there.
so I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to lower my status.
Yes, that's exactly right. And your hair is covering your expression, so I can't
now,
see it.
what does that mean?
What does what?
This.
Nothing too much. I think, Dr. Nichloes, my real feeling is that in an interview like this, you can lighten up a little.
I am actually lightening up.
Oh,
This
you are
is me lightening up.
You know what?
I have never done that in my life.
I know. Maybe you should. Have
Trust me,
more
I'm
fun.
loose.
I have seen so many tapes of you where you're so serious. You need to have more fun. Loosen up. Have a blast.
Well, I don't know if my patients who were several-time suicide attempters and I saved and launched into entirely new lives would agree with you about my seriousness, but
have you
you're
really saved them, or have you made them more dependent on you?
Well, I do have to interject here. Lanya is, once again, as I had said earlier, going on a USO tour. I mean, we do know, of course, the importance of entertainment on the troops.
Well, excuse me just a
I
minute.
did meet Lanya.
Your question, I'd like to address that question because that was quite a loaded question. You play me on a regular basis.
Yes.
Do you feel that you have saved your patients or that you've made them dependent on you?
What I'm trying to show in the play that yes, I have saved the patients. But I did have an interview, several interviews with some of your patients, one being Lanya. And she did not have that much favorable to say about you.
So when
Off the record.
when you say that you're trying to show that you save your patients, what you're implying is that really beneath you don't believe that you do.
I'm sorry, come again.
I asked if you believed, as me, you save your patients or leave them dependent on you. And you said in the show you're trying to show that you save them.
Yes.
But but the hidden but to that is you're trying to show it because you don't really believe it.
Yeah, and listen, this is not personal either, because I think a lot of people in your position do that to their patients, make
Yes,
them more dependent.
Yes, that is a hazard.
Yes,
that
that
comes with the
is a
territory.
hazard. I think in your case though too, it seems to me if you really let them go after they seem to be recovering, then they wouldn't feel the way that someone like Lanya.
Well, this was all addressed in my third book. So I think if you read it,
I should read the second.
you will have
then.
all the answers
Yes.
to what you're asking.
Yes.
Yes, it is a natural hazard of my field,
Yes,
and everyone.
it probably is.
It's documented, and everyone knows it, and it's hard.
Mhm.
It's hard. It says if you raise a child, if you have a puppy, anything that you nurture and take care of ends up in some way having it. Well, again, it's in the third book.
Well, for those of the members of our audience who are not familiar with the third book, it is actually called Better Safe Than Sorry, Unlocking the Mysteries of the Mind. Now, we will be back in just a few moments, and at that point I would like to discuss with you two lovely ladies the individual relationships that have developed between you and Lanya over the last few months, and also the relationship that is rumored to have started between you and Sarah Ishraib, the young lady who is playing Lanya. So, if you'll be kind enough to stay with us just a few more moments, this is Midday in Manhattan. My name is T. Crawford. We are here with Dr. Denise Nichloes and Kathren Jones. Be right back. Thank you for staying with us. My name is T. Crawford, and we are here in Midday in Manhattan with Dr. Denise Nichloes and Kathren Jones. Now, we are about ready to start discussing the relationships that have developed between your patients and your fellow workers here. We're going to start with Ms. Jones this time. Some of the local papers have insinuated a romantic connection that is developed between yourself and Sarah Ishraib, the young lady who is the dynamic young lady, I might add, who is playing Lanya on the set. Could you care to comment on that?
Well, I really don't care to comment on it. Remember, I am in the limelight, and there have been a lot of people linked with my name, and I'm free at the moment, so I would prefer to keep that.
Well, it's interesting that you had mentioned you spoke to Lanya, because I spoke to Sarah, and Sarah told me about some feelings she had regarding you that were also not all positive. It's just a fluke that we have the same situation with Lanya and myself, and you and Sarah. I mean, where art is imitating life, is imitating art. So
I do have to interrupt for a moment, because some of our audience might not know that Sarah is a pet name, that her actual stage name is Sasha Ishraib. But those of us who have developed a relationship, and many people have indeed developed a relationship with Sasha, do tend to call her Sarah. So, now, continuing. I know that we have had a discussion a number of times on your relationship with Lanya, and that you have suffered many slings and arrows regarding a certain sense of sensationalism that has developed in looking at your dealings with her. I know that for a while they were considering investigating your relationship when she moved into your apartment. Now, I know that did not actually take place, because you were certainly cleared of all charges. But in a world that we live in, such a mundane world, of course, two young ladies who were residing on the same premises, and one of them, for those of you who don't know, was dealing with past life regressions, where she believed that she was indeed a hooker in Sodom and Gomorrah. So I know there was a lot of sensationalism regarding this relationship. Would you like to discuss that, or perhaps the popular delusions and the madness of the crowd, which is the title of your fourth book, by the way? Would you like to discuss this?
Well, I think obviously all of this, like they say there's no bad press, all of this only added to the ticket sales, all the sensationalism, and although...
Hitting on something really big here, aren't you? Ticket sales.
Excuse me?
Would you like to expound on
I'm
it?
sorry.
Please elaborate.
I'm sorry, it was a little out of...
I don't
I'm
know
really
what...
sorry about that.
It really is
Sorry,
unfair
Professor.
it really is unfair to crack a door open and leave our audience wanting. We are all very, very interested in what goes on in the mind of a famous actress like yourself, and how important is it for ticket sales in your world. I mean, of course, ticket sales are ticket sales, and the success or the failure. But for example, do you have money invested in this this show, as rumored, where it might pay to sensationalize, perhaps given events that were not necessarily taking place?
The press will do what it does.
I tried to up her stature because, frankly, and now meeting you here, and you say ticket sales, my God, that was 4 books. You read one book and it's racy enough. I couldn't even do the 2nd or 3rd or 4th. I'm really sorry. I tried to up your stature. Yes, I have money invested in it. Yes, there's a certain amount of things I would do for ticket sales, but there's also a certain amount of things I would not do for ticket sales, and I did try to up her stature.
Well, I'm sure that one of the questions on our audience's mind is whether or not you did Sasha to up ticket sales.
No, I did not. No, I did not. That was something, excuse me, let me please, since I haven't spoken about that and I'm asked about it again. No, I didn't. That was something that just happened.
I think there's a little misunderstanding. What I was saying about when the press, unbeknownst to me, sensationalized the story. I've been a good sport about it because I realized that it lent toward making a hit of the play. It was not something that I appreciate. I don't appreciate my personal life being twisted and sensationalized, but again, for the sake of the play and those involved with it, I'm happy for them if it did them some good. It doesn't really hurt my stature as far as I'm concerned, and I, as a psychiatrist and a philosopher, I find it all fascinating and fodder for my next book.
Well, let's clear the table here as far as it goes. No one, no man, woman, or child that has touched this play has not made a lot of money. Robin Renee, the Tupperware lady, is currently on world tour after a phenomenal turnout at her Tupperware party at the Houston Astrodome. You, of course, have indeed you of course have indeed been riding up a storm. Lanya is getting more than enough press on her USO tour, with or without the veils. Even Rosa, you know, she is currently writing a book that it's titled "Check the Closets." in her relationship with Rosa.
And our guest
and
is
of
up
course,
for
our-
a Tony.
Yes, is up for a
I
a
know, so what does
Tony.
it say? We all like to make money.
Well, you
all of
know,
us.
there is certainly nothing necessarily altruistic.
Whether you're a
about
psychiatrist or a businessman or, everybody, money makes the world go.
I am the first to admit our ratings have zoomed thanks to the loyal audience that we have, and you two lovely ladies. So if you would just be kind enough to hold on one more moment. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is T. Crawford Crawford. This is Midday in Manhattan. We are here with Ms. Kathren Jones and Dr. Denise Nichloes, both of whom are very, very essential parts in the exciting road from nowhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? Hope's a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all.